Councillor George, esteemed Senior Council of the Auckland Council, been here since its inception, and 9 years as the Mayor of the North Shore. George also is looking to spend time in the local board if he's successful. George, it's our pleasure to ask you to give your valedictory.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I must say that this has been a roller coaster 6 years. Just starting off, I'd just like to acknowledge you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, Chief Executive and the officers, members of the public here, but in particular my two daughters, Karen and Ellie, and my wife's away. She's doing family school holidays and duties in the Manawatu at the moment, so she can't be here. But I think that, yeah, as I said, it has been a very interesting 6 years. And I start off by saying that I was one of the four mayors who hatched this great idea of changing the governance of Auckland.
The Colonels.
And I still remember the 7th, it was a Thursday, the 7th of September 2006. The cat was out of the bag by that stage. Everybody, I think, in Auckland knew about the fact that we were going to see the Prime Minister, and it was the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, Trevor Mallard, Judith Tizard and Heather Simpson. So it was quite a heavy group that we did see. And they were very, I thought, receptive. And that day they also told us about the waterfront stadium that they were proposing. So that was, I think, the first time that had been revealed. But it was, I think, a watershed day for the idea. The idea was out there at that stage. So we were on the way until I went back to my council on the shore, and I was kind of ostracised and found it very difficult to make friends anymore. But I'm very pleased at the way that the whole thing worked through. I think that it was an idea that had to be worked through well, and I'm very happy that and pleased that the government did set up a Royal Commission. And I certainly got involved in that. I think I was out of office soon after the idea. I don't know if the good people of the North Shore saw the idea as a great way forward. But Mr. Mayor, I must say that these last 6 years, I think, have been amazing, and it's been unbelievable the amount of work and the amount of things that have been achieved during this period of time. And I remember sitting in this room early on in the first term of this council when we discussed the spatial plan, which was known as the Auckland Plan. And I thought to myself, this is amazing that we're sitting around in this room and we're making monumental decisions which are going to impact on Auckland way into the future, but we're kind of setting a blueprint as to how we are going to move forward and what it's going to look like. And that was, I think, a real watershed time. In that Auckland Plan, the thing that I was very pleased that that it was achieved was the Southern Initiative. I actually came up with that idea. It was a mayoral task force in one of the small local board areas in South Auckland, and the mayor supported me on that, and then the officers went away, and when they came back it was a Southern Initiative which was going to cover 4 of the local board areas in South Auckland. And the reason, and one of the reasons that really gave me the idea more than I probably had it was the fact that we were at that stage talking about a new prison in South Auckland, another 990 bed establishment which would go with the new one in Spring Hill, the Premarema, what was up there. They were talking about a new prison at Mount Eden. And I've always thought, when I was a young cop and just joined the police in 1966, Mount Eden Prison they'd had the riot there 6 months before in 1965. And the number of prison inmates in Auckland at that time was about 300. We've got thousands of inmates now, and I think it's an indictment on the social fabric of Auckland and New Zealand that we've allowed that kind of situation to develop in our communities. So that's one of the things that I think I'm pleased that we are setting up the Southern Initiative. I know the Chief Executive's refocused the direction of that project, and I'm pleased that that's happened. And I'm also pleased that the government has engaged with Auckland Council. And people say, oh, well, it's going to cost ratepayers. I don't think it is. It's a catalyst to try and make sure that the government agencies come out of their ivory towers and do work for the betterment of Auckland. When this council started, the Mayor gave me the position of Community Safety Committee Chair. And I remember Callum Penrose, I asked him if he'd be the deputy of the chair of that committee, and he agreed. And Callum and I worked, I think, very well on that committee. And we had a number of areas that we looked at, but the big one that I had in mind was graffiti, because we had been very strict on graffiti over on the shore, and there was a young man out at Waitakere who was working on getting graffiti off the rail, along the rail tracks. And Michael, I can't think of what Michael's surname is, but they had put this plan out at the old former Waitakere City Council, and then the Mayor launched his 100 projects in 100 days, and one of them was removing the graffiti from the Yates building in Albert Street. Yeah. And that was the catalyst to, I think, a fantastic renaissance of getting Auckland cleaned up, and I'm really happy about the way that worked out. The next one that there was a couple of there was a Merrill task force, an Eden Park task force, and Kathy was involved in that, and I think we made good progress there. Rugby World Cup, well, there was some issues there which were unfortunate. I remember I was down there down at the Cloud on the night of the opening event, and I was there and Des Morrison and I left at the same time. When I came out onto Queen Street, I thought, this is amazing. How are we going to handle all these people? And I went and got a bus and went home, and then obviously after I'd gone, things changed. But we were told that it was under control and leave it to the authorities. And then during the World Cup, we had Occupy Auckland. Remember Occupy Auckland? We used to spend all have our meals up here, and we'd stand at the window and look out, and there'd be Cameron and Dick down talking to the occupiers. And I remember, Mr. Mayor, I remember the first weekend they arrived, going down there, and I had a look around. I thought, oh, it's an old cop. I thought, we can get rid of these guys. There was only a few tents. And I rang you, Mr. Mayor, and you said, no, look, George, leave it. I'm the mayor. I'll sort this out. And they were there for 100 days. And the amount of coverage that the media gave us was unbelievable. But it was interesting times. Another issue that I kind of picked up, and as the chairman of that committee, was a bill, a local bill, which had been set up by Manukau City Council in relation to street prostitution. People probably remember that from the first term. And we had to have a vote in the governing body, which was held at Orewa, in relation to whether we were going to pursue it and continue pursuing it. And I remember that the agenda came out, and I thought to myself, I've never actually looked at this very closely, so I said to my wife, Myra, you'll have to come out with me. We're going to go out late on a Friday night and drive around to see what this actual situation is. Is it as bad as they say? And I had to take her because I didn't want to get picked up by the police driving in my old Toyota along the streets around Hunter's Corner. So we went out there, and it was similar to what people are saying. And then another night, Callum and I went out there and met Ross Robinson, who was the MP promoting the bill. And it was late at night, I think it was a wet night, and we wandered around the streets, and there were a lot of street workers. And we were walking down the street, one of the streets there, and we came upon three people. One of them was a very big built street worker. And those two, the first two, Ross and Callum, they were able to get past, and then my arm was grabbed. And they turned around and found me standing there on the footpath trying to get away. So I eventually did get away. But they were very interesting times. Another occasion, I think it was Callum, organised a visit to the women's prison at Wiri. So I drove down there in my old Toyota Camry, TM309. It was quite a notorious vehicle. Anyway, I drove into the car park at the women's prison. I was late, but I was happy, no worries. And all of a sudden, about 6 prison officers descended on me with a dog. And they said, excuse me, sir, you are going to be searched under such and such a regulation, and step out here, stand there, don't move. I said, well, are you searching my car because it's an old vehicle and is that the reason? And they said, no, we're not talking about you, just let the search go on. And I said, look, you guys, if I had parked out on the street, you wouldn't be able to search me. Anyway, the search went on, and eventually they said, oh, you can go. So then I was very disgruntled, walked over to the building. We had to go in for another search, and I thought, well, this is it. I'm not going through another search. So I got back in the vehicle and went home. I did go back to that prison subsequently and saw the excellent work that they're doing there. So, we had a number of other projects, but the project that I really got a lot of enjoyment out of, and it took a while, was the 1080, the pest eradication project in the Huanua Ranges. And I got involved, got close to the iwi representatives there, and I think that we had a good relationship. And but the difficulty that I found was that they said to me, after we'd been up in the Huanuas and we'd had a blessing on the morning, everything was going right, they then said, look, George, or Hori, they said, Hori, we want to bless the 1080 pellets when they arrive. And I said to the officers, is this possible? They said, no, it's a secret location they're going to be stored in, so that's not possible. But I said, they're going to come from the manufacturing site, which was somewhere down country, to where this location is in Auckland, so surely we can intercept the vehicle on the way. Oh, no. I said, well, is it going to come up the Bombays? Yes. Okay. Well, on the day it's coming up, we'll sit at the top of the Bombays and wait for the vehicle to arrive, and then we can have the blessing. So that's how it happened. And I think, we've got to go that extra mile on occasions to ensure that we can accommodate the needs and cultural areas that people want to get involved, want satisfied. The alcohol legislation has been one of the bugbears of this council. Ever since, for the last 6 years, I've been involved in this process, going to the select committee, then working through the local alcohol policy. It's now with the authority under appeal, and it's taken 6 years, and it's taken a lot more time before that. So I think it's a scandal that has taken so long when we have so many issues out there. Another area that I think is, which I've looked at is in South Auckland, was public transport, and I'm very glad, I think I mentioned to the Mayor early on, that I thought the South Auckland bus services should be revamped, and that was first off the blocks, and very soon they're going to be rolling out the new South Auckland bus services. And I'm very pleased to see that they're upgrading at long last, Councillor Filipina, the Mangere Town Centre bus stations, which is really great as well. In that first term, we camped on the 15th floor, and I say we camped because it did feel to some extent like that. That was even before the Deputy Mayor arrived up there. But I think it built a lot of camaraderie between the different councillors that were up there. Some of the others were down on the 14th floor, but we certainly got to know each other pretty well at that time. And here, in that first term, Jamie Lee Ross had been the deputy chair that Richard Northey chaired, the Accountability and Performance Committee. And when Jamie Lee resigned and went to Parliament, I thought, well, that might be an area that I would like to be the deputy to Richard, and I got the votes and got elected to that. So that was a rewarding experience, and I worked well with Richard, and it was good. select committees. I've been to a few select committees since I've been elected here. I remember going with Councillor Casey once. It was in relation to Sky City, which we both went along to make the submission, and Cathy was very passionate about the issue. And I said to Cathy, we had a kind of a set out the ground rules, and we stuck to those ground rules, and it was very successful. I think it was a very good occasion, and that's been the case in other ones as well. So I've certainly enjoyed my time in the last 6 years. I've kind of been under a bit of compulsion from my family to think about what I'm going to be doing in the future. I did say that I was going to stand, and they were a bit upset, but they probably thought, oh, well, if he's going to stand again for council, well, so be it. And then I made the big decision, and I'm actually going to stand for the local board. I think I've got some, I can try and help other people to come through, and maybe some of those people may aspire to come to this body in some time in the future. So I'd just like to thank the Mayor, councillors and officers for the support they've given me as chair of the Regional Strategy and Policy Committee. And with that, I'll say Hore Rako, or the Happy Buddha, as the Asians know me. I'm now signing off.
The Happy Buddha.
10-0. 10-0.
George said Myra's not here, but his two daughters are here. We want to recognise the fact that this has been very much a family in the public eye. And so you would have grown up with George in politics, you poor things. So congratulations, it's really wonderful.